The obsidian throne room, usually echoing with the groans of the damned and the clatter of infernal weapons, was disturbingly silent. King Erebus, Lord of the Underworld, sat upon his throne, a figure of immense power sculpted from shadows and ancient rage. Yet, tonight, an unfamiliar emotion flickered in his cold, black eyes: boredom. For eons, he had ruled, conquered, and crushed all who dared oppose him. The thrill of victory had long since faded, leaving a hollow ache in its place. "What is the point?" he growled, his voice a rumble that shook the very foundations of his realm. "These a broken bar, endless monotony." With a frustrated sigh, he rose from his throne. The obsidian floor seemed to tremble beneath his feet as he approached an ancient portal, its swirling vortex usually a gateway to torturous dimensions. Instead of looking into a fiery abyss, he now focused on a shimmering reflection, a world awash in vibrant color, a world of mortals. He watched, transfixed, as tiny beings moved with frantic energy, their lives punctuated with laughter, tears, and a bewildering range of emotions. His gaze settled on one figure amongst the crowds of Paris's Champs-Élysées copyrightess. A young woman stood on a bustling street corner, her face a mask of quiet resilience. There was something in her eyes, a flicker of strength that belied the fragility of her frame. He felt a strange pull, an inexplicable curiosity that transcended his millennia of existence. A smile, something he hadn't felt in an age, stretched across his lips. The sensation was foreign, unsettling, but also a broken bar intriguing. He realized, with a jolt, that he wanted something. He wanted to understand. He wanted to feel. He wanted to know this human, this Lucy. Erebus didn't hesitate. He summoned his most trusted messenger, a being of shadow and whispers. "Find her," he commanded, his voice laced with an urgency that surprised even himself. "Learn everything about this mortal. Her name, her life, her joys, her sorrows. Bring every detail to me." Days passed in the underworld, each moment an eternity measured by the impatient pacing of the king. When the messenger finally returned, he bowed low. "My king, her name is Lucy. She lives in Paris, on the Champs-Élysées copyrightess. Her father was murdered when she was 10, and her mother, who raised her alone, passed away on her 14th birthday. She has no family, only a friend named Katerina. Relatives, driven by greed, took everything from her, leaving her homeless. Now, she works tirelessly to pay her college fees, living in a small rented apartment with her friend." Every word, a hammer blow against Erebus's carefully constructed detachment. The injustice of it, the resilience of this mortal girl. It ignited something unfamiliar within him. It felt like a painful twisting in his chest, a warmth that was both agonizing and strangely a broken bar compelling. It was a feeling he had forgotten, a feeling akin to broken bar empathy. "Prepare me," he said, his voice soft but firm. "I will go to this world. Equip me with clothes appropriate for their time." He needed to understand, to witness this life with his own eyes. He couldn't simply observe from afar anymore. Moments later, dressed in sleek black clothing that would have been fitting on any modern street, Erebus stepped through the portal. The air of the mortal world was thick with scents and sounds, a dizzying contrast to the sterile silence of his realm. He was a predator amongst the prey, a king amongst commoners. Yet, all he sought was a single glimpse of the young woman who had somehow ensnared his interest. He found her at a dimly lit bar, her face pale in the artificial light as she struggled to balance a tray laden with drinks. While she worked, a customer, eyes glazed with drink, touched her inappropriately. Lucy recoiled with a cry, a mixture of shock and disgust. Her boss, quick to defend a paying customer, slapped her across the face. He showered her with harsh words, threatening her job and livelihood. Tears welled in her eyes. She apologized, her voice trembling, bowing her head in shame. She knew she had to endure this humiliation. She couldn't afford to lose her job and burden her friend even more. She went to the kitchen, her heart aching. She felt alone in the world, forgotten by a god she didn't believe existed anymore. Late into the night, around 1:30 a.m., a man entered the bar. Erebus stood tall and imposing, his black suit accentuating his muscular frame, his dark eyes scanning the room. Finally, his gaze landed on Lucy. His heart, or what he assumed was his heart, steadied. She looked exhausted, her shoulders slumped, but her eyes still held that lingering strength. When she approached him for his order, he felt a strange nervousness. He, king of the underworld, felt awkward. He spoke softly, his voice a low rumble that made her pause. "Madam," he said hesitantly, "I have never been to a place like this before. Perhaps you could recommend something for me?" Lucy was startled by his politeness. She offered him a warm smile, a genuine kindness that seemed to touch the very core of him. She suggested a Mai Tai, a sweet and light alcoholic drink, and brought it with a small plate of snacks. He told her he hadn't ordered the snacks and simply wanted the drink. Lucy explained that the snacks were complimentary for new customers. "If you need anything else, please feel free to ask," she said, her smile still bright despite the exhaustion that laced her voice. As she walked away, Erebus watched her. He felt a surge of an emotion he couldn't quite name. Was this a broken bar what happiness looked like? Was this the strange, intoxicating feeling he had been searching for? He knew one thing for certain. His journey had only just begun. He wouldn't rest until he understood the source of the pull he felt toward this fragile mortal woman, and the emotions she stirred within him. He was the king of the underworld, but Lucy was a mystery he had to unravel, a puzzle he desperately wanted to solve. And he wasn't used to wanting anything. He smiled, and while looking at her he drank a few glasses of the same wine that she offered him without disturbing her and making her awkward. She didn't even realize he looking at her. He paid his bill in full and left huge tip for her on the table and left with huge satisfaction on this face he makes sure to look he dunk while leaving. He is really happy in a long period. Hello darling reader. Thank you so much for listening to the first chapter. I hope it tickled your fancy. If you loved it, and I hope you do, please click those like, subscribe, and share buttons. Your support means everything. Chapter 2 is brewing, so please be patient. Thy with love, your love.